Are you ready? By Walter Gay. The agonizing question, which has plagued black folks throughout America for over 400 years and is still a pressing issue today in 2017, is when will true equality be reached, plus what will it take to achieve it? For well over 60 years I have personally witnessed countless debates and confrontations over this very issue. This haunting controversy has promoted many angered words and senseless bloodshed for far too many years, plus the madness still continues today. To advance peace and harmony, amendments have been added to the Constitution, new laws have been created and old laws have been changed. Schools have been integrated in our white neighborhoods infiltrated. Corrective programs have been implemented and counterbalancing privileges granted. Liberals say it is not enough, and conservatives say it is too much. The utterances and exploits of yesterday's vanguards for equality have somehow become submerged into today's continued anemic corrective environment. I wonder what Martin Luther King would say if he were here to see what is taking place today. I wonder if he would agree with what we, the black community, is doing to make his dream a reality. I wonder if Brother Malcolm would stand tall in regal pride, shouting, "Right on, brother, right on, sister, my life was not given in vain." In the words of our misguided youth, I don't think so. Although their approach to solving the problem seemed noticeably different, both Martin and Malcolm wanted their people to taste the sweet nectar of true freedom. So what has taken place over the last 50 years to hinder the dream and aspirations of these two visionary leaders from manifesting into reality? If I were to listen to the majority of clamor and dissatisfaction coming from so many of my black brothers and sisters, I would have to say what has been being said for far too many years now. It's the white man in all his oppressive ways. This has become the battle cry and an accepted rationale for far too many, for far too long, for all of our shortcomings. This is not to say that prejudice is not alive and kicking. In fact, it's healthy and on the uprise again. But this is not our primary challenge. It should not consume the vast amount of our time or focus. We need to accept the reality. We can't control how some others feel about us. But we can control how we feel about ourselves. We can't force others to rid themselves of the ignorance and heartlessness which impedes them from displaying peace of mind. For when you achieve true peace of mind, you're not only at peace with yourself, but with others in the world. But here's what we can do. We can alter the degree of our own progress. We can't compel someone else to look out for the well-being of ourselves or our loved ones. But we can take steps to do it for ourselves. The point I am trying to make is to realize what you are truly in control of. The old axiom, God give me the strength to change the things I can, accept the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two, should be our guiding light. Think about it. This simple philosophy can turn one's life around. This rehabilitating mindset will put you on a more productive path of assuming total control and responsibility for your own life. We should make this our number one priority. Easier said than done, you might say. The cardinal culprit for this response could be denial. Through years of conditioning, with much of that conditioning being passed down from parent to child, far too many of us are crippling ourselves by adopting the crutch of blame. Instead of shedding the archaic past shackles of slavery, we allow ourselves to still imprison our minds. I remember reading somewhere, imprisoning someone's body does not make them a slave. It's only when you can imprison the mind that they truly become a slave. Removing the mental bondage of slavery is a must. A slave has someone else control their life and thoughts. A free man seizes control of his thoughts and his mind, which constitutes his freedom. Before I go any further, let me once again clarify one thing. By no stretch of the imagination am I suggesting that we are to ignore institutionalized oppression, which surfaces at times all around us. It's real and can be harmful. It may infringe on our progress at times, but we shouldn't allow it to stop us dead in our tracks and give up. At most we should see it as a temporary obstacle. Too often it becomes an insurmountable wall or an impassable sea. It only becomes insurmountable or impassable if we give too much undue credence to it. The choice is ours. Do we accept responsibility and maintain control of our own lives, or do we relinquish control and place the blame, control, in someone else's hands? We cannot wait for someone else to empower us. We must empower ourselves. We need to accept our own shortcomings, making corrective adjustments when possible, to overcome the shortcomings of others. As a child, I can remember my parents, my grandparents and other elders of that period using old wise sayings to give guidance and direction. Within the framework of many of these sayings passed down by our forefathers are valuable lessons designed to awaken us to universal truths. We need to look at some of these sayings and extract from them the wisdom we need to improve the quality of our existence. This wisdom needs to be shared and explained to our youth, but also stay conscious that all who are young at mind don't necessarily have to be young in body. The authors of many of these axioms must have been spiritually inspired, for they touched upon universal truths, which transcends time. Just as they are true today, they were true yesterday and will be true tomorrow. Submerging ourselves into these pools of wisdom can aid to release us from the stagnant state of domination and help us gravitate to a self-imposed state of emancipation. Mind over matter is a cliché we have all heard at some point in time. Like a motionless sailboat adrift in the sea, whose sails are suddenly filled with an energizing wind, so is the person who can usurp the mystical power contained in this axiom. It reveals to us the power of the mind and exposes the concept of mental transmutation. Mental transmutation explains the influence of mind. The images we conjure in our mind impact on everything we do. They're sprouted from our perception of life. These perceptions are the byproducts of how we interpret things. How we interpret things is a direct result of how we feel about ourselves. Mental transmutation is one of the most powerful influences in our life, and at the same time one we know so very little about. If we were to accomplish very few things in our life, one should be to understand and harness the power of your mind. This is a domain we should seek to totally gain control over. There is an ongoing battle taking place in all of us in this area of our life, and most of us are completely oblivious to it. With this lack of consciousness comes the ability for others to control and manipulate you. To better understand the merits of this concept and how it can help to improve your life, let's take a closer look at this phenomenon in operation. We all have this ongoing inner conversation taking place within our mind 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. What we tell ourselves and how we see ourselves influences everything we say and do. Our perceptions of life and sense of reality is impacted by this very thing. Seeing oneself positively is a tremendous asset. This should not be confused with being egotistical. It helps one to absorb and fend off all the entropy, temporary obstacles, which will naturally enter into your life. If these negative forces are coupled with a negative mind, the results in your life can be devastating. Prejudice is a negative force. If we want to lessen it or completely destroy its effect, you must have a positive mindset. If you see yourself through negative eyes, the results you receive will be similar. When you look into the mirror, who is it that you see? Is it someone who you hold in high esteem and admiration? Or is it someone you are ashamed of and see as being hopeless? Is the image positive or is it negative? Does the world benefit from its existence, or is its presence unrecognized and insignificant? We need to cherish this awareness. We need to see ourselves positively, believe we have the ability to succeed, and this will give us the control to keep on trying until we do. When you see yourself negatively, this promotes a negative mindset, which causes you to give up control and allow others to control you. In each of our lives, the most important thing is not what someone else says or does, but how you interpret it. This interpretation is centered on your self-awareness. Self-awareness is just another way of saying how you see yourself. Again, this helps you to shape the views and opinions you have on all you encounter. It's that little voice which harbors within all of us. It brings vision to how we relate to our Creator, to each other and the earth we live upon. It guides us to determine when we are right, when we are wrong, and when we should compromise. It helps to alert us to what is beneficial, or what might be harmful. It enables us to create or blindly leads us to destroy. It can lift us up or bring us down. It can promote an atmosphere of love and prosperity or one of hatred, plus destruction. It is truly a driving force, which impacts your entire existence. I think that all would agree that positive self-awareness is not only important, but extremely powerful. Those who understand the true dynamics of its power, and are wise enough to grab the reins of control, will be the only ones who will experience the fullness that life has to offer. Too often we look to others to provide the positive energy that only we ourselves can create. Our true struggle is not taking place on a physical plane, but on the mental plane. It really doesn't hinge on what is taking place around us, as much as it does on what is taking place in our head. If you substitute the word mind for head, and reflect on the saying, as goes the head, mind, so follows the body, the concept should become crystal clear. Obtaining true freedom resides within the space that is located between your two ears. Our mind is our passport to total equality. Our ability to unleash this emancipating power needs only the authorization of the self-will instilled within each of us by our divine Creator. Do you continue down the path which has kept you enslaved for the last 400 years? Or do you detour to a road that will bring you to a liberating awakening? Do you continue to blame the closed-minded bigots for all your shortcomings, giving them control of your life? Or do you see their actions for what they really are, temporary obstacles? Taking responsibility for your life is the catalyst, which will put you on a more positive road. Remember, you possess the cure to your shortcomings, which will allow you to stay in control. All of life is a series of lessons designed to bring you closer to your fullness as a person. How and if you learn these lessons will determine the heights to which your life will rise. To quote an old Hermetic saying, the teacher comes to the student when the student is ready. Are you ready?